England are out of the 2022 World Cup, and of course, it is because of a penalty. Now, the gameplay in the background is, I think, about 20 minutes if I remember correctly. I've got a lot to say, so hopefully I use up 20 minutes, hopefully no more than that. So of course, it is a Tottenham player that misses the penalty. You can take Harry Kane out of Tottenham, but you cannot take Tottenham out of Harry Kane. So the first half, we were not very good. The shot that we conceded was admittedly a very good shot in the first half. But second half, we were a lot better. We were definitely the better team in the second half. It's not just a case of we did better than we did first half. It's a case of we were better than France in the second half. And I'm not even going to talk about the officiating in the game because that's a whole video in itself, and it was shambolic at times. There's a good couple penalty shouts that should have been given as penalties, in my opinion, that weren't. And I think VAR had a mare, the ref had a mare. But we did get a penalty in the second half. So we got about 1 out of 3. So yeah, the officiating was shambolic, but that's a whole video in itself. Now, as I said in my last video, I am Southgate out. This particular game, I don't think that Southgate should be sacked over this particular game. France is not exactly France is not an embarrassing team to go out to. Obviously, that it was a 50-50 game. You know, we've got a better squad than France, arguably. But they are the current world champions. As of making this video, France are still the world champions because we still got the semi-finals to play as of when I'm making this video. So it's not an embarrassment to go out to the current world champions. So, if Southgate resigns, that's his choice. And although I am mostly Southgate out, I do thank him for the work that he's done over the last 6 years. You know, he got us to a semi in the World Cup. He got us to a European final, even though we did lose the final. But, you know, you win some, you lose some. Although actually, you don't really win anything with us. You lose all the trophies with us, actually, so you don't win any. But, yeah, if he resigns over this loss, then that's his own choice. I don't think he should be sacked over this particular loss, though. However, we have done one less in 2018 where we got to the semis, and this time we went out in the quarters. But again, like I said, we went out to France, which it's not an embarrassing team to go out to. So if Southgate does leave because of this, I think the next best option is Thomas Tuchel, and that is without my Chelsea bias. Obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I'm going to say Thomas Tuchel because I love him to bits. I thought he was a great manager for us. You know, won silverware. Obviously, yes, the Super Cup and the Club World Cup are not the biggest of trophies, but it is a trophy. I mean, that's the first Club World Cup trophy that we've won in our history, and it's been, however, like 20 years or something since we won a Super Cup, and then Tuchel managed to do that, and we also won a Champions League. He won a Champions League within 4 months of being at Chelsea with a squad that was basically new to him, except for 2 players, one of which had to be subbed off in the first half due to injury, the other of which played like 20 minutes at the end. So for the great majority of the match, he was playing with a squad that he had only spent 4 months with. So obviously it's a great achievement. So without the Chelsea bias, I do think that Thomas Tuchel is the next best option because I genuinely can't think of any other manager that would do a job that's actually available right now. Pochettino is not good enough. Pochettino, let's be fair, he does not get a job at a high-ranking Premier League club. Okay, he might get a job at Watford, for example, that occasionally come back into the league every now and then. But he doesn't get a job at Chelsea, doesn't get a job at City, doesn't get a job at Liverpool, not United, not anything like that. He does not get a job at a top 6 club. He doesn't get a job at a top 6 club. And the rumour is that Zidane is going for the France job after the World Cup. So he's not available because he wants France. I'm pretty sure he said that himself. I heard on Twitter that he said that himself. Could be right, could be wrong, I don't know. But I heard on Twitter that he said that himself. The only thing I know is it's rumour. But people have said on Twitter that he actually said it. I don't know if that's true though. Eddie Howe is at Newcastle. I don't think he's going to leave because he's doing a great job there. I mean, I don't know. You might be able to persuade him to leave it to manage the national team, but I don't know if you're going to be able to. And Graham Potter is obviously, people said that Graham Potter was the next best option, but obviously he's now at Chelsea. And Todd Bowley has said even if we don't make a top 4 this season, it's very unlikely that he'll be sacked. I think the only way that he gets sacked is if we get relegated. And I don't think... touch wood, I do think we are a bit too good to not get rid. We could have me as manager, for example, and we just wouldn't get relegated because the players are just too good to be relegated. I think, like, we have got some extremely good players that would win the championship. So I don't think that even if we had me as manager, that there's any chance of relegation because the players just are too good to be relegated, if you get what I mean. So, yeah, Graham Potter's at Chelsea, and I can't see him being sacked unless we get relegated, which I don't think will happen. So, yeah, I think Thomas Tuchel's the next best option, and apparently he is keen on it. The journalists are saying that he is keen on the job, I should say. Really take it? Who knows? We are at the World Cup now, and apparently Thomas Tuchel is supposed to go back to Germany, I think it is, because of his visa this month. But because if he does get the England job, obviously he won't have to do it anymore because he'll have a permit to work in the UK. So right now he doesn't have a permit to work anymore because he obviously got sacked. So I'm pretty sure by Brexit laws he has to return to Germany this month or something. I don't know. It's something like that. So yeah, I think he's the next best option. Yeah, so anyway, moving on. Now the lineups throughout the tournament do show that James Maddison was only called up to please the fans. Given that James Maddison was on the bench. Actually, did he even make the bench? I don't know. I can't remember. It's been like a couple of days since we went out, and I can't remember. I think he made the bench at best. He didn't get any minutes, which proves that Southgate was only bringing him to please the fans and the country. Obviously, maybe he would have played in the semi, third place if we lost in the semi. Maybe he would have played in the final, who knows. But we got to the quarter-final. We played, 3 groups. So we played 5 matches, and he didn't play. He didn't have a single minute in any. So we can somewhat assume that he was only brought in to please the fans, and Southgate didn't actually have any intention of playing him at all, which is pretty stupid to bring a player just to please the fans. Now, I do feel like we have a golden generation of players with people like Bellingham, Foden, Mount, Kane, Rice. Who else is there? Kyle Walker's got good pace as well. Pickford is honestly pretty good in goal, to be fair. So we have got a golden generation of players, but I do feel like we have not got a golden manager. I do feel like Gareth Southgate is not good enough for the England job, and that is proven by his track record of losing and relegation. Got relegated in club and in country. Lost a European final. I think I said European. Lost a European final. Lost a semi-final. Lost a quarter-final. Yeah. I don't think he's good enough, to be honest. I like him as a guy. I think he's a nice guy, but I just don't think he's good enough. It feels like he does fine against the easier teams such as Iran and Senegal. Even Senegal was somewhat difficult. I don't think the scoreline really says the game how we really went because they did have a good few shots. And they are the African champions, of course. And they had a good few shots, and they didn't even have Mane on their team, which is kind of mad. But when it comes to tougher teams like France, who are the current world champions at the time of making this video, Southgate just can't hack it. I think maybe possibly you could change the penalty taker from Kane to someone else, considering that Kane and Lloris are teammates at Spurs. So maybe get like someone else to take it. Maybe, I don't know. Sterling. Was Sterling on the pitch that I can't remember. Mount. I don't know. Just someone else. Someone that's not a Spurs, basically. Now let's talk about creativity. Trent was one of the most creative players that went to this World Cup out of all the nations. There's De Bruyne and all those other guys. There's a lot of creative players that went, and Trent was one of them. And when we needed creativity, such as in the USA game, he was on the bench. So when we needed creativity, our creative players were not on the pitch, which doesn't really make sense. And side note, beating Germany does not count as a big win for us, because not only is it not a good Germany side, but they did not make it out of their World Cup group. So we can't, as much as it is nice beating Germany, it's not that much of a flex anymore, to be honest. Considering they didn't make it out of their World Cup group, and they're not the Germany that they used to be. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. You know, Southgate doesn't get a job in the Prem, being the toughest league in England, and yet he's given the task of getting the hardest trophy in football, which is the World Cup. And I said that I wanted nothing more than Southgate to prove me wrong and win the World Cup, and he hasn't done it. So do I think they should be sacked over this particular loss? No, I don't. Because like I said, going out to France is an embarrassing thing. It's not the best thing, but they're not an embarrassing team to go out to. You know, they're the current world champions. They could very well win the World Cup this year. So it's not an embarrassing team to go out to. If he resigns, that's his choice, and I thank him for the work he's done. And I think Thomas Tuchel's the next best option, and that's without Chelsea. But I can't think of anyone else that would do it. I can't think of anyone else that gets a job in the Premier League, in top 6 club in the Premier League, that is actually available right now. So, yeah, that is it. Obviously, I'm upset at this loss. You know, we got Euro 24 or 2024, I should say, and Southgate's contract expires in December 2024 after those Euros. Will he resign before then? Who knows? Maybe it is time for him to go and see how another manager does, and if another manager does worse, fair enough, maybe we can get Southgate back or something. But then you're also just kind of wasting the years of the players, because you can't just pause the players' aging to see if another manager does better. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I'll see you on the next one. Yeah, England are out of the World Cup in the quarterfinals, which dreadful, but not too embarrassing because it was France and we arguably were the better. I mean, if we were the better team and we still lost, that's not very good actually. But it's not the worst of circumstances. You know, it was to the current world champions, so it's kind of forgivable. I am proud of how far they came and how much they tried. You know, like they put everything into it. But I do feel like Southgate is the reason that we're not winning anything. But I do thank him for the work that he's done. Yeah, that is it. See you on the next one. Peace out.